Hey guys, welcome to episode 20 of eSports Edition. In this segment, let's discuss Eduselling and its importance within eSports sponsorships. So, what is Eduselling? Well, first of all, it's a traditional sport management technique. You can actually Google it and it'll pop up and you can read to your heart's content. But it's a form of customer education where sponsors aren't just sold, but are actually told, instructed how to utilize sponsorship vehicles the right way. And it's centered around the approach that sponsors aren't just checkbooks who, are going to provide not blank checks, but right money that you take and you run in exchange for throwing names on social media, jerseys, etc. But that they're partners. And this is gonna be incredibly key Eduselling, that is, because we're rapidly approaching saturation of endemic sponsorship sources. And 2016 is going to be a pivotal year for esports in the sense that it's going to determine how well that sponsorship scope can expand and how efficiently non-endemic sponsors are actually brought into the fray. Because without an Eduselling approach, that knowledge gap between the esports world and non-endemics, aside from all of the groundswell of interest on both sides, it'll never be bridged because the current relationships with endemics it isn't really as analogous to how non-endemics are going to expect esports sponsorship vehicles to engage them. So what's missing? What's the bigger picture? I think a full understanding of what the sponsorship sales life cycle means. And that word sales is a little misleading, right? Because actually the business of esports, when you look at it, is the business of esports marketing and sales, right? Until other forms of revenue are mature, your success as a business, as a commercial entity, is determined by how well you market and you sell. And as the stakes are rising fast, as there are a whole host of pressures and rising player salaries, obviously an increasing number of opportunities, the need to grow organizations, the need to scale overall growth. That understanding of what a full sponsorship sales lifecycle looks like when you're dealing with brands and companies who are outside of esports is still missing, but critical. So what are the steps involved with Eduselling, right? And there are about 9 steps. If you Google or if you look it up, it'll pop up. I'm not going to go over all of them, but in general, the first step is actually identifying the prospect, understanding who you're going after, understanding who you're trying to uh, sell. Might be a harsh word, but it is what it is. And another key step is taking in, and I use the word partnership a couple times, but partnering instead of pitching, right? A sponsorship pitch deck, great, gotta have it, but the pitch itself has to be from the perspective of someone who's invested in the business of or the success of the potential sponsor. You have to come across as an ally, not as someone who's sitting there on a pot of gold and, hey, if you want access to my pot of gold, you'll pay me. Not the way to go about it. Key in that is demoing, like showing, don't tell. When you're dealing and you're in front of audiences who have heard more than they know about the esports opportunity, about competitive gaming, about video game culture in general, show it, right? Obviously, closing the deal is a key step. But here's a point that I want to belabor. It's one of the last steps in Eduselling that's incredibly key across esports, and that's after-marketing sales and follow-up. That's absolutely critical because in essence, for all the work that goes into securing a sponsor as a partner and getting sponsorship dollars, the work doesn't begin until after a contract is signed and a check is handed over, if you will. because that's when you've gained a new, not just logo to display across different channels or mediums, but that's when you gained another, like I said, partner in your business, and you become a partner in theirs. And that after-marketing sales and follow-up is going to determine the complexion of that relationship, and it's going to determine, sponsorship renewals. It's going to determine how, the recommendations that you're going to be able to take to other prospects, and it's going to determine if you're going to be able to grow the business with that sponsor, right? So when the term of the contract or the sponsorship is up, how do they view their return on investment? A lot of that has to do with how you approach the immediate after marketing following a sale. So I think all the pieces are in place in terms of what esports brings to the table in a value proposition for non-endemics. Eduselling is really going to bridge that gap and take the interest that exists outside of esports and match it with the tremendous opportunity that exists therein. So that's all I have for this week. Once again, always open to hearing any thoughts. Feel free to leave a comment, and I'll catch you guys next time.